Well, viewers, thank you for staying tuned. Now, the next recipe involves...
We're making homemade ravioli with our own pasta base and with a filling of roasted pumpkin and ricotta with a butter and sage sauce topped with fresh chives.
The thing is, I guess, for our viewers at home, ravioli now, they go by the name of cappellacci, tortelli, anything. For me, it is very much a festive thing. Now, I know, Franca, you were saying that yours is more savoury. There are some parts of Italy where they may add even, you know, mostarda and amaretti to it.
Sí.
But I guess these were a filled pasta that really originated around that Emilia-Romagna, Lombardia.
Feste.
Yeah, and
Pedale Feste.
Pedale Feste. It
Sí.
is a festive thing because it takes a lot of time. And you'll see the technique that Franca will show us. It is quite laborious in terms of the time that it takes. So let's go in, let's cut to the chase.
Okay, thank you. For our next recipe, we're going to walk through our roast pumpkin and ricotta ravioli. We'll start off by having a preheated oven of 180. We slice up our pumpkin. I recommend butternut pumpkin. It's a little bit sweeter and just has a lovelier taste. And we cube that. We will bake it with some sliced onion, and I have a rosemary infused oil here which will just give it such a lovely flavour. Pepper and salt, and cook it for 20 minutes. Now that I have my pumpkin and onion in the oven cooking, I think I'll start on my pasta dough. 400 grams of plain 00 fine flour, 100 grams of semolina, 4 eggs, and a half a cup of distilled water, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and a teaspoon of salt. Okay, for the filling, we'll start off with 300 grams of ricotta, which most importantly has to be drained, preferably overnight or at least for a few hours, to remove any excess water out of the ricotta. Okay, our next ingredient to add to our ricotta is our roast pumpkin, which is, as you can see, you just mash it with a fork, not in a processor as it comes a bit too fine. And we don't really mind if we get a little chunk of pumpkin in our mouth. And we even mash a little bit of the onion if there's a little bit of tender onion in there. Now that my pumpkin is ready, nicely mashed, I've taken out any little burnt particles out. I've mashed a tiny bit of the more tender onion in there, kept a little bit of the oil juices in there just for extra flavour, and I am ready to add that to my ricotta mixture. The next step is I'm going to grate my Parmesan cheese in it. This is quite a nice Parmesan cheese, fresh, so I'm sure it'll add a lot of flavour to the mixture, but that is about a half a cup. So I'll just throw that into my mixture, and then I won't put too much salt because I've already salted my pumpkin and the cheese is quite tasty. So really just a touch, and just a touch of pepper because I've already peppered my roast pumpkin. Also in this recipe I add a pinch of nutmeg. And now bind everything together, making sure it's all well bound together. Now that my mixture filling is ready and my dough has rested, I am just going to lift my dough out of the bowl, dust my workbench, and proceed with working the pasta. Once you have your pasta nice and flat like this, then you just start putting it through your machine, and start off with the largest setting because we will eventually go to the second last setting. Okay, now that we have our pasta sheets and we have our mixture ready, we're ready to make our ravioli. First of all, our ravioli maker. We're going to put our pastry sheet, making sure that you are well within the serrated edges. Just trimming some off here. And then we're going to fill our ravioli, making sure you don't overfill them. Otherwise, chances are that when you're boiling them, you'll find some in the boil and it will just ruin all your water. So just a little spoonful of mixture and put it right in the centre of the ravioli. Okay, so now we're ready to put our top on, making sure we secure everything very, very well right to all the edges. I'm going to trim off the excess pasta. And we're going to seal it down with our little rolling pin, and this is what secures it really down, and making sure that they don't open when we're cooking them. So it's important to have a little bit of flour on the outside so the rolling pin doesn't stick to the pastry and runs along nicely. Make sure you apply a bit of force when you're doing that, a bit of pressure, to make sure you're sealing them well. So I feel that they're quite secure now and quite firm, so I'm just about ready to take my ravioli off and put them on my floured board. I just trim them down nicely just to make them all look nice and uniform, seal them off. The water is boiling, has to boil vigorously to boil our ravioli. We add a little salt and a drop of oil just to avoid sticking. Put them in one at a time. The ravioli have been cooking for 5 minutes. As you can see, they seem quite ready, and none of them have opened, which is great, and we're ready to drain them off. To my butter, I'm going to add a little oil. About quantities, well, depending how many ravioli you're making the sauce for. Now we chop our garlic. I don't use a crusher because I don't want to really give the butter sauce a very strong flavour. I want a hint of garlic, but not crush it and give it a very strong flavour. So I just cut it up in smaller pieces. We're going to fry that lightly. The oil and garlic and butter, we're adding our sage, just topped with a little bit of cracked pepper. Okay, we're just going to add our ravioli to the sauce. I'm going to give them a quick toss. And I'm going to grate some Parmesan cheese on it. To complete my dish, I'm going to add some sprigs of chives. Just a little baked pumpkin on the side, spread out just for some decoration.